Whoa, where am I? It must have been a bad dream. I could have sworn I got shot by that cop during the bank robbery.
Welcome, mortal, to the plane of eternal suffering.
My commander night at an LGS?
Nah, man, we're in hell. See, look, there's that sliver player you played against last week. Left their oven on before going to commander night.
Hello? But Satan, I don't even know what I did wrong.
Thank God there's a channel that can break it down for us.
What's good, bro? You were thanking me?
Wait, no.
I sung that. Do you feel like your deck isn't doing the thing? Is your win-loss rate lower than my GPA was in college? Well, chin up, Buttercup. My name is Really Bad at Magic the Gathering, or Really Bad for short, and today I'm assisting the MTG theology by explaining the 7 deadly sins of Commander players. That's right, the 7 ways that you're actively dooming yourself, or at least your mental health, with your deck building choices. And trust me when I say this, I've made all these mistakes a million times over. But to help me out today, I brought a couple of friends along for the ride.
Hello everyone, my name is Greenie, and I'm Girl with the Green Suit. I'm an avid CEDH player who focuses on making my favorite format and way to play more accessible to beginners. It's fun to play with powerful cards. When I am not making content across platforms or playing CEDH with my friends, I like to host free Commander tournaments with my best buddy on the Tough Mulligans Discord server. It's the exclusive place for online tournaments with top deck points, and we're a sweet as pie community. Come hang out.
Hey guys, I'm Josh, better known as JMR Game Design. I make TCG content focusing somewhere between the puzzles of Magic, like deciphering blank cards with Spellify or solving crosswords, and the design side, going through how I build decks and entirely new game pieces, like converting Yu-Gi-Oh cards or anime characters into Magic. If this sounds at all interesting to you, you can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or anywhere else TCG content is sold on the World Wide Web. Or you can check out my Linktree and see all of my content, as well as my affiliates, in one convenient place. Thanks again to Really Bad for letting me glean a light on the lust many players have for their decks. #NoFap.
One of the most common and most painful deck building sins in Commander is not running enough lands. Your deck might be packed with all the flashy bombs, infinite combos, and giant 7+ mana spells, but if you can't hit your land drops, none of that matters. Why spend your paycheck on a card you won't be able to play? Statistics say that in a typical 100-card EDH deck, running less than 37 lands reduces your chances of hitting your 4th land drop by turn 4 to slightly under 40%. Even with ramp spells, decks that aim to cast multiple big spells consistently often need 38 to 40 lands. Failing to include enough lands is basically telling your deck, I like you, but I prefer you sit out for the first 10 turns. It's the ultimate sin of greed, hoarding all the big shiny spells while starving your mana base. Don't let your deck be a museum of uncastable cards, and give it the lands it deserves. Sloth is the deadly sin of laziness, and in Commander, it shows up, in my opinion, every time a new set drops and you refuse to touch your deck. New threats appear, new synergies emerge, and everyone else is tweaking their builds to handle them. But you may still be running the exact same deck from last year. But what's the result of this? By turn 5, your old reliable deck from last year is already outclassed by new cards and new mechanics that you didn't even consider. Studies of playgroup dynamics, and by studies I mean painful experience, show that decks untouched for more than 6 months have a 60 to 70% higher chance of being irrelevant in casual pods, especially when new mechanics shake up the meta. Even small updates like swapping and removal, adding interaction for dangerous new cards, or exploring new synergies can save your deck from becoming a museum exhibit. Remember, in EDH, ignoring new sets is basically signing your deck's death warrant. I would even go so far as to say that it's blissful ignorance. Even 1 or 2 thoughtful updates per year can save your deck from becoming a museum piece. Look at the new set, see what improves your core strategy, and make some changes that will answer the new threats. I promise you won't regret it. Wrath is the sin of rage, or more accurately, the problem of making everyone else's life miserable. It shows up when you bring a stacks deck, infinite taxes, or a hyper-competitive lockdown deck to a casual pod. Suddenly, every turn is spent staring at your hand, miscounting your mana, and groaning at your table instead of enjoying the game you came here to play. Playing the wrong power level in EDH is the equivalent of showing up to a friendly picnic with a flamethrower. Even though it's technically legal, it will constantly punish everyone else. And that is committing wrath. Casual pods are about fun, politics, and light chaos, not dismantling everyone before they can even take their turn. Before building, consider your pod's power level. Are they running precons and casual fun decks, or are they tuned competitive lists? Matching your deck to your group keeps wrath in check and prevents you from being that guy who makes every deck miserable. In other words, use the updated bracket system and have pre-game conversations.
Magic players love their decks. Maybe a little too much though. No, I'm not talking about the guy that brought that really interesting Thalia altar to the shop. I'm talking about people loving their strategy so much their decks suffer for it. Like, okay, stop me if you've been here before. To make things simple, because I'm sure the majority of you have probably done it before, let's say you're building something typal. Goblins, elves, merfolk, dragons. If you somehow have never been in this scenario, I think you should be studied in a lab, but I digress. You're trying to find cuts for the deck and you're stuck between a great piece of removal, single target or board wipe, doesn't matter that much here, or another creature that synergizes with some part of the deck. Maybe it's a value piece like Risen Reef, a crazy finisher like Twin Flame Tyrant, or maybe just a massive board spammer like Scoot Swarm. And ultimately, you pick the synergy instead of the removal. You hop into your next game, and while that synergy piece went absolutely crazy, it wasn't enough to stop lightning from beating you like a drum tri-wielding Mirrodin swords. Or while Risen Reef gave you a landlord's wet dream of real estate, it was just a little too short to stop the flock of Thopters from tearing you a new one. The point is, we all love our decks, maybe a little too much, and we want to express that love through all the cool stuff we put in. But sometimes that means shelving that synergy piece and playing removal to make sure you actually get the chance to play all those other cool synergies you put in. Or, you know, you play an Azorius control deck and do both, I guess. Only difference is that you might not have a play group to show off that cool infinite counterspell synergy to.
Ah yes, pride, the sin of ego. In Commander, pride is the stubborn insistence that your opening hand is perfect even when it's clearly not. We all know this scenario. You draw one land, 6/7 drops, and a handful of spells that all cost more mana than you can actually produce. You look at it and you think, this is fine, I've got this, and then you don't. Turn 1, you play your land. Turn 2, you top deck nothing. Turn 3, still nothing. And meanwhile, your opponents are untapping commanders and already doing commander things. Their Kinnan deck is generating infinite mana while you are looking at your mana base and crying. The worst part, pride convinces you that you don't need to think critically. You've convinced yourself that keeping a suboptimal hand makes you clever when in reality, it's just a perfectly good way to waste time. If you are missing the colors that you need to cast your commander, ramp, or early game plays, I don't think you should keep the hand. Pride is holding onto a soul ring with a handful of 6 drops. It's impressive in theory and useless in practice. A well-rounded mulligan game could mean the difference between a slow, painful loss and a competitive hot start that actually lets you play the game. Yes, even if you have to drop to 6 or 5 cards. And then there's envy, the sin of imitation without comprehension. You scroll through EDH Rec when you build a new commander and you find a deck that looks powerful. You buy all the cards off some website, you sleeve it up, and you sit down at your table thinking you've unlocked some hidden secret of the format. But the kicker is, you don't understand the deck at all. You don't know why the cards are there and when to combo off or how to pilot the deck efficiently. It's just chaos. Your first combo attempt fails, and you stare at your soul ring as if it's personally judging you. It's tempting to think, if it works for them, it works for me. But spoiler alert, it may not. Blindly copying a deck could make you the comic relief of a pod. You may fumble through interactions, misplay combos, and generally make every opponent feel slightly better about their own mistakes. It's like trying to pilot Blue Farm without understanding the main win lines in the deck. You may get lucky sometimes, but most of the time, you'll just look confused and frustrated. So the solution? Use other decks for inspiration and not scripts. Learn why each card exists and understand the strategy, and adapt it to your own playstyle and your pod's meta. Knowledge is power, or in this case, it's the difference between a functioning deck and awkwardly fumbling someone else's creation for 30 minutes.
But really bad, EDH Rec is a great tool for certain scenarios. Personally, I'll occasionally use it when I'm building a casual deck to fill out 1 or 2 slots with cards that I may have forgotten. I don't want to mention how often I forget Sol Ring. However, just like anything, excess can be terrible for you. I know it's tempting to want to build a deck that's as good as everyone else's, but when we overly rely on other people's achievements, we end up stunting our own ability to be the next best thing. EDH Rec is a great tool for occasional use or to get an idea of how most people are building the commander, but a direct copy and paste should never be the use case of such an application. If you really want to be better than others at building decks, you need to get comfortable being really bad at Magic for a while and practice, practice, practice.
Finally, we have Gluttony, the sin of excess. In Commander, this is when your deck is stuffed with the flashiest, most massive spells. 14 mana bombs, Eldrazi Titans, game-ending planeswalkers. But you forgot one tiny detail: how to actually get them into your hand. You've got all the power, all the spectacle, but no card draw and no tutors. And the result of this? By the time you actually draw your giant bomb, your opponents have already untapped all their mana rocks, drawn 15 cards a turn, and taken over the game. Your show-stopping spell sits in your hand collecting dust like a trophy you can't display. Gluttony is seductive. You see those high-cost spells and think, yes, I need all of them. But without proper support, these cards can become liabilities. A deck overloaded with big bombs but is starved for consistency will result in a slow and awkward feeling game. And the fix? The fix is balance. Pair your bomb spells with card draw, tutors, and ramp. Make sure you actually see the spells you want to cast so that you can play them at the right moment. Remember, in EDH, overindulgence is just as deadly as under preparation. And there you have it. The 7 deadly sins of Commander deck building: greed, sloth, wrath, lust, pride, envy, and gluttony. Commit them at your own risk, because your friends, your deck, and your win rate will absolutely remind you that you're making them. Avoid the sins, update your deck, respect your mana base, love your cards, but not too much, and most importantly, keep being awesome. If you stayed this long, please comment which sin you find yourself making most often, or which one you think is the worst out of them. I'm always here to lend a listening ear. So tap the like button, grind on the subscription button. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers now, and who knows, maybe I'll even do a face reveal at 10,000 subs. If you liked this video, definitely check out my other videos. I promise they're all as mildly comedic and helpful as this one was. Before you go, I made a Patreon. If you'd like to throw a couple extra coins in my direction, the link is in the bio and on the screen. As a patron, you'll get exclusive access to a deck tech lottery where I'll select a handful of patrons each month to review their deck and give my pair of pennies where I can. I'll also be sharing my videos to my patrons before I post them, giving you exclusive access to my really bad content. If you stayed for the personal advert, please comment jobless activities. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening till the end. Keep being good, keep being sexy, and I'll see you beauties next week. Or earlier, if I can squeeze out a short.
Almost Cotton is my first patron!
And a big thank you to Girl with the Green Suit and Jamar Game Design for being my first ever collab on the channel. Seriously, go check their stuff out. It's awesome. And join my Discord and follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter. I promise I'm funny on those platforms too, sometimes, occasionally. Okay, bye!